Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of Star Trek Picard Season 3. It was called Dominion. And as the episode begins, we find the Titan hiding in a scrapyard as Three Blind Mice plays slowly. The soundtrack playing in the background was a very slow version of Three Blind Mice. On the bridge, Seven is speaking to TUVOK over comms, and they talk about Janeway and how she's busy with Frontier Day preparations. And as they're talking, the crew is analyzing his voice to try to make sure it's him, but the analysis is inconclusive. So Seven tries to verify that it's him by evoking a memory that they should both share. And he seems to pass that test, but then she tries a second one to test him some more, and fake TUVOK fails and begins to trace their location, but they cut his signal. So TUVOK has been replaced by a changeling, and I want to know if that means that TUVOK is dead.
No! No!
That would suck. Beverly and Picard have a chat, and she proposes coming up with a biologically based tool to defeat the changelings, but questions the morality of such a thing. It seems that the changelings may be trying to resurrect the original Picard by combining his remains with Jack's DNA so that the replicant can pass an ID scan at Frontier Day. Picard and Geordi talk a little bit with Data, but he's not himself, given that lore is in his head too. But he does seem to cryptically confirm that hypothesis to a certain extent about what the changelings are up to. Over on the Shrike, Vatic tells her superior that they haven't been able to get anything out of Riker or Troy, and he tells her that she'd better get on the stick and mentions something about her biology being unique, as she seems to go through some sort of changeling seizure. Back on the Titan, Jack has a weird incident in the turbolift with Sydney where he's able to read her mind. So it's kind of strange. What's that about? Jack then tries to tell his father what's going on with him, because when he was able to hear her thoughts, he was also seeing weird stuff, like in a vision, kind of overlapping reality. And he suggests trading himself for Riker, but Picard says he thinks he has an idea on how to trap Vatic. So the Titan plays dead in order to try to get the Shrike to show up, which it does, after they arrange for some kind of fake transmission to trick the Shrike into thinking that a Vulcan ship had disabled them as part of the Federation effort to round up these fugitives. And so Vatic sends a shuttle over, even though one of her crew members warns her that it's a trap, which of course it is. Once she and her crew get over there, she searches for life signs aboard the Titan, and the sound effect that they used was the same sound effect from Star Trek II that was being used, I believe, when Kirk and McCoy and Savick were on Regular One, walking around the tricorders when they didn't know what had happened there yet.
Scattered like rats.
It's the same sound effect. Anyway, Vatic encounters Jack in the hall, who tells her that everyone's dead and that if she wants him, she'll have to catch him, and he runs. And then, working with Sydney and the bridge crew, he manages to trap her people in different hallways between force fields, as well as trapping Vatic herself between some force fields. But Jack and Sydney are also trapped between force fields, and when Geordi tries to beam them out, they can't, because Lore, who's connected to the ship, stupidly, is interfering with it since he's hooked up to it. And he then frees himself and locks Geordi and Geordi's other daughter out of the room that he's in. Beverly then confronts Vatic and says that she's rethinking her vow to do no harm. Picard tells Vatic he knows what she plans to do with his body. And Vatic tells them that it was Starfleet that gave her, and in turn through her, the changelings the ability to pull off the new tricks that they've been pulling off, because she was experimented on when she was a prisoner of war at Daystrom Station during the Dominion War. In fact, she's patterned her appearance after the scientist who was experimenting on her and essentially torturing her. And it turns out that she is the way she is, as I said, because of the experiments. And those experiments were done on her because Starfleet was trying to find a way to weaponize the changeling ability, so they could make soldiers capable of doing exactly what it is that the changelings are doing, infiltrating a society or an organization in this case, without being able to be detected. The force fields that are holding everybody in are failing, but Lore is still in control, so Geordi tries to appeal to Data within him as Lore only stares at him and Data fights Lore. Picard and Beverly debate killing Vatic. Lore then gets full control and drops the force field, and Vatic escapes. Sydney and Jack end up having to fight a couple of changelings, and they seem to be able to link mentally and communicate psychically and operate in sync before escaping danger after Data regains control. Picard and Beverly figure out how to track the changelings on the ship based on a trace amount of chemical that was injected into Vatic during the experiments that Vatic told them about. So she said, I was experimented on as part of Project whatever. I forget what it is, Prometheus maybe. And so they looked it up and they figured out that there was a chemical used, and they traced the chemical. So they know where on the ship she is. But the crew is unable to stop her from taking the bridge, and she then makes some announcements ship-wide, one of which is that it's time for Jack to learn who he truly is. And that's where the episode ended. So I liked this episode. It was very good. It felt a lot like Star Trek. It felt very different from Picard season 1 and season 2. It just worked. It was a good episode. It's furthering the plot. It's doing things that make sense. It's got the right balance of action and talking. I like that it showed us a Beverly who's on the edge of losing her emotional detachment as a medical professional and as, a good person. And in fact, Picard makes this decision in this episode to kill Vatic because she's just an assassin and there's nothing to be done with her. But he just doesn't manage to do it. And, that was just very interesting because, that's not the Starfleet way. But everybody has a breaking point, and so it was interesting to see him go there. Brent Spiner was excellent as Lore and Data. And there's a very emotional scene when Geordi's talking to Data or trying to reach Data. That was good. The scene where Seven is talking with fake TUVOK and is able to suss out that he's not really him was really well done. It was great seeing Tim Russ. But like I said, what happened to TUVOK? Amanda Plummer, once again, fantastic. In this episode, she, in part of it, when she's trapped between the force field, is humming Three Blind Mice. I'm not sure why they picked that particular song. I'm sure if I thought about it, it would make sense. But it's, I guess, part of her mindset is that whole concept of three blind mice, see how they run. And that's why the song is playing in the beginning. But she's just amazing. She makes your skin crawl, and it's fantastic. And there's a line about why she took the appearance of her torturer. And, Picard says to always remember her hatred, which, makes perfect sense. But, we finally got answers about why the changelings are different. She was made different, and then she can pass it on to other people, other changelings, if they link together. So that's why they've been changing. That's why they can do different things, which in the beginning of the season was like, wait, wow, since when can they do that? So it all makes sense. And that's a good thing. You want things to make sense, and things did not make sense in the first 2 seasons of this show. So it's really great to see this season humming along in a satisfying way. No Riker this episode, which is a first for this season. And he was missed because Jonathan Frakes has been doing a great job. Is Data back for good now? Are we going to see more Lore creeping up? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. One thing that confused me is Geordi and Picard are talking about, Data's situation. And he says that B4 and Lal are in there just as memory patterns, but not personalities. But in the episode where we first see the new Data, B4 does come out for a quick second. So that was kind of a contradiction, but I'm perfectly happy not to see any more from B4. There's no need to keep seeing B4. We're good. He showed up for a second. Hi, B. That's it. We don't need any more B4. But we'll have to see if Lore is gone or what's happening. Well, they didn't get any Worf this episode, but that's okay. We know they talked about him, and we know we'll see him again. So yeah, I just a solid episode that moved the plot forward and that had, punch and action, and it was just very, very good. I'm so happy that this season is going so well. There are only 3 more episodes now, and I don't see them messing it up in those next 3 episodes. So I'm thrilled that the season is where it is. But I'm going to get out of here for now. I will be back to review the next episode once it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.